Last but not least, Jonathan Brown, who needs no introduction, but I'll give him a bit of an introduction because we do really value having him here. Jonathan grew up in Bushfield, southwest Victoria. He really needs, as I said, no introduction. He, after a glittering AFL career with the Brisbane Lions, where he won 3 premierships under the age of 21, he's quickly assumed the unique position of having universal appeal as he undertakes a career in the media. And this was no easy choice. We're talking a lot about choices tonight that we have in our life. The easy choice for Jonathan would have been to stay in football, where he's an expert, where he had a certain skill set that was appealing, that people wanted. And a lot of footballers do that. The hard choice would be to uproot your family, move back to a better state, being Victoria and Melbourne, where he's originally from, rather than hiding away up in the Gold Coast, in Currumbin, where he probably could have turned into a hippie up there, grown long hair and smoked marijuana. But he took the hard choice where he then became a novice again. And when you're a proud man and got an ego where you want to be a leader, and you're renowned as a leader and well respected amongst your peers, to go back to being a novice in a totally different industry where you're on show, probably to 500,000 people a day on breakfast radio, it really is a testament to Jonathan in terms of his commitment to grow and develop. And if we look at the Game Changers logo, if anyone hadn't worked that out, by being here, that's what we hope people will do, is grow and develop. That is what that symbolises. So, as I said, Brownie was a triple premiership player with the Brisbane Lions. He's had won the club champion awards, 2 times All-Australian. He's a Coleman medalist in 2007. Amongst his peers, the respect speaks volumes. He won both the AFL Players Association Best Captain and Most Courageous and Player award on multiple occasions. And off the field, and I'm sure he'll allude to some of that tonight in terms of some of the challenges he faced. Probably got himself in more trouble than he needed to with his playing style and presence because of how hard he went on field. But congratulations to Jonathan. Without any further ado, I'll hand over to him, who can talk more about his transition from being an elite footballer into working in the media and on Nova Radio. So welcome, Jonathan.
There you go. I still walk with a limp. That's 15 years of playing footy, so I might need to talk to you, David, by the end of this. This is great. Well, Meg's got us nice and relaxed, so I'm going to have to fire you back up again, boys. It was bloody good though. I nearly fell asleep. Been up since 4:30 this morning, Meg, so very, very nice. I'm gonna fire you up, and I'm sitting in the meeting room, 2001 grand final. I'm in the old Richmond rooms, underneath the old Northern stand. It's about 10 minutes before we run out, 5 minutes before we run out. There's 98,000 people sitting above us. I'm 19 years old. The great Lee Matthews, the greatest player of all time, one of the greatest coaches of all time, calls us into the meeting room, dark, dingy little room, just before we run out. Very rarely does this so close to the game. Calls us in and wants us to look at a video of our last 17 weeks, because we'd won 17 in a row to get to this point. And these are the actions.
I'm gonna taste the sweetness have the power not to give in. Oh, I will see it through. I believe this is my moment of truth. Dare to dream, dare to fight, dare to be the chosen one to touch the sky. Dare to reach, dare to rise, find the strength to set my spirit free. Dare to dream.
Nodding on hands and knees, getting up, getting out of traffic.
I will go the distance, embrace resistance. I will lay my soul on the line. When the wait is over and the hunger has spoken, if I give my all, I will shine. Oh, I will see it through. I believe this is my moment of truth. Dare to dream, dare to fly, dare to be the chosen one to touch the sky. Dare to reach, dare to rise, find the strength to set my spirit free. Dare to dream, and my heart will shine like the sun. A million voices together as one. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. Dare to dream,
This time gets clear.
dare to fly, dare to be the chosen one to touch the sky. Dare to reach, dare to rise, find the strength to set my spirit free. Dare to dream, dare to fly, dare to be the chosen one to touch the sky. Dare to reach, dare to rise, find the strength to set my spirit free. Find the strength to set my spirit free. Find the strength to do what I believe. Dare to dream. Dare to be.
Pretty powerful, isn't it? Pretty powerful, just about to run out in the ground. Imagine how we feel. 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And the great Lee Matthews says to us, I don't care what happens today. I love you guys for what you have done. Okay, one of the hardest men to ever play the game, opening up his emotions like that. I asked myself the question, I'm sitting in that meeting room, how did I get here? How did I get here from 12 months ago, a bit part player? I'm going to talk just briefly about leadership, the two most important things I learned about leadership in that 12 months. And they were from the two greatest leaders outside of my old man I've met in my life. First one, Lee Matthews. Lee Matthews, 12 months earlier, comes to me and says, hey son, you're going to be my centre forward. I believe in you. I know you can do it. I'm going to stick with you no matter what. Okay, leadership, making the people below you or your teammates believe by positive reinforcement. by making them believe, being positive, okay? The easiest thing is to be negative and to be critical and to be harsh, especially in the team environment. The hardest thing to do is be positive, but it has an everlasting effect. And it makes a kid like myself, who was that 18-year-old, makes him believe. And 12 months later, he's sitting in the room about to go out and play in front of 98,000 people. 12 months earlier, a bit part player, not in the physical condition to cope at AFL level. I learned by watching the great Michael Voss that the greatest form of leadership is leading by example. Being prepared to, whatever you ask the troops to do, knowing that those troops know that you'll do exactly the same and more. Michael Voss was the hardest trainer, the most professional, the hardest player that prepared the hardest out of anyone I ever saw in my whole career. From that point on, I realised if I wanted to lead, even though I didn't have a title beside my name, I've got to lead by example. I've got to be the hardest trainer. I've got to prepare the hardest. I've got to go the hardest out on the field. I've got to work and work and work until I can't work anymore. Leading by example and making your fellow teammates or peers, whoever it may be, making them believe through positive reinforcement. So, fortunately enough, 2 hours later, we're doing that. 2 hours later, we're doing that. And the next year, and the year after that. Almost went again the year after that, but I still haven't quite got over that. So, again, David, that'll be on our topics to talk about. Bloody Port Adelaide. So I'm there. I've conditioned myself. I've played with hard men. I've played with great men. I've been led by great men. I've been coached by a great man. Conditioned myself. The behaviours count. Feelings don't count at all. Okay? I'm bulletproof. I'll go on for the best part of the next 8 to 10 years. Never having too much of a hiccup. Unfortunately, we can't win the grand finals each year, but my own individual performance is quite strong and quite consistent. Build up through that really positive belief, but making sure my behaviours are the things that lead my body, not my mind. As Lee Matthews used to say to us, in the when our sports psychologist would work with us as well. Okay, I can't help you if you wake up not feeling good on grand final day. So condition yourself. I was bulletproof. I'll get to the age of 28. This happens.
Adcock, the high ball inside the forward 50. Taylor's done a good job, gets to the contest. Well, how about that? There's carnage and spillage everywhere. Brown appears the worst off.
He always comes back to the flight of the footy, elbow to the head.
Unbelievable courage.
Remember all the work done on his face after the Fremantle game in round 1 this year.
He's just got unbelievable courage, that ability just to run back.
Not a great move, but don't try that at home. All of a sudden, I've got on the stretcher there, I've got a tube down my throat. The doc gets to me and thinks I could be in the final stages, okay? This sort of look like about an hour later, just after I wake up in hospital. So I have to have about 15 plates and 65 screws put into my face. Obviously severely concussed. Bulletproof no longer. Bulletproof no longer. After that, I spent about a week in the trauma ward in hospital, putting me back together. I was rushed to the trauma unit. I went to one hospital. It was rushed to the trauma unit because my airways were closing because I damaged my throat as well, and the significance of the injury. So I spent a week in hospital. Then from that point on, I go home and I'm really crook. Really sick, probably sick for the best part of 3 or 4 months. I can't drive for well over a month. I have several falls at home. I'm in a bad way. just losing balance at home, falling over, sleeping all day, sleeping at odd hours, and obviously throughout that time, not a very lonely time, but a lot of reflection, sitting on the couch for virtually 3 or 4 months trying to recover, thinking I'm not bulletproof anymore, and I feel like I'm so far from getting back to playing AFL football that it's really confronting for me. Obviously, over time, and this comes down to the reinventing yourself part. Over time, I want to get back to playing again. Eventually, I've spoken to doctors. I've been given plenty of advice. Doctors have given me advice to retire. My wife says to me, though, I can still see it in your eyes. You've still got the fire in your eyes. I know you want to come back and do it again. But how am I going to get back? How am I going to get back from how low I'm feeling? Well, I think I can't get to there. I can't think of the end point, okay? That's my goal. I need to be able to get back and play. But what I need to be able to do is I need to just break it down into small steps. I'm really sick. My body's been bashed up, so I go away in small steps. I start walking. I go for a run. The first time I go for a run, I run about 10 minutes around the block. I reckon I nearly died. When I got back, I'd been filled with that much trauma in my body. But I thought I just need to persist, one step at a time. Little by little, I was able to chip away at it until about 6 months later, I was able to rebuild my body. I lost a lot of weight. I was down to about 90 kilos. I played at about 105 kilos. So I had to get back in the gym. But I wasn't going to get the weight back on overnight. I had to just chip away at it. I had to build my endurance. And most of all, when I started training again and started contact, I had to build the confidence within myself again, because I had these feelings that I'm not bulletproof. I'm not bulletproof anymore. I can't do that anymore. So gradually I just had to build the contact and get used to getting hit again and being out there in that team environment, being out with bodies crashing into me and all these sorts of things. Little by little, I needed to rebuild my body and rebuild the confidence within myself, never quite letting go of that dream. I was able to get back. One of the proudest moments of my life was able to get back and my first game back, sing the song with the boys. And I thought it was all worth it. It was all worth that pain and suffering and the sacrifice I put myself through to get back. And by no means did I get back and reach any lofty heights again. We didn't play finals. I didn't win any individual awards or things like that. But I was able to get out and not beat the odds, but probably beat the odds for my mind. When your mind's telling you can't do it, it's too hard. The feeling of being bulletproof, I'd lived with for most of my football career. All of a sudden, I was vulnerable. I was having to go out there, being in a vulnerable instance, and having to overcome my fears. One of the biggest things though I got out of it was the reflection was the balance. And I suppose thinking about it, I thought, hang on a minute, football's not everything. I don't have to put absolutely everything into this. I need to have better balance. I started having a family. So that was a focus away from it. I was able to start to separate my football and my pursuit and my family and other time. When I was at the club, I was there preparing, I was doing all the work. When I was away from the club, I was spending time with the family and enjoying my time with my young family growing up. A bit of like that mindfulness. I'm no expert in it, Meg, but it's probably mindfulness, and that's what you're talking about. Being in the moment, being present, turning your phone off, enjoying it for what it is. And it gave me a bit more balance. And it also gave me a thought of, what can I maybe do after football? I need to chip away at and work at something for after footy, whatever that may come, whether it's a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 4 years' time. So I started having a crack at the radio, and I started working in radio for the last 4 or 5 years up in Brisbane. Even though probably a pain in the arse dragging myself out of bed a few mornings a week and get the call to fill in, and I didn't know what I was doing. But I thought, no, I'll just stick out this. Just stick out this because one day I might lead to something post-football. But also, it was giving me a better balance. Got my family, got my other pursuits, and then obviously I got my professional career as well. And that helped me, I suppose, helped me be a bit more content and more confident that I can go into our post-football life. I think the biggest thing moving back down here was, I think the biggest piece of advice I can give to you, especially the younger people, is that I've gone into radio, come down here in Melbourne, gone into the radio and the football commentary and gone into another career. And like Mike said, I'm a novice. But I'm out of my comfort zone. And when you put yourself out of your comfort zone, geez, it makes you feel alive, doesn't it? It makes you feel alive. And I thought that's something that I've really missed from football. I've missed the challenge. So I need to go out and find other pursuits. And you need to take yourself out of that comfort zone. If we want to live comfortably, it'll be, of course we want to live comfortably, sorry, but if we don't challenge ourselves, we're not going to have that contentment and that happiness there. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learnt. There you go, it's a pretty couple of ugly mugs on the right there. Not sure they've had to widen that couch to fit our two asses on there. Great Jason Dunstall. So reinventing yourself, guys. I've had to go from the top of the tree in my field to going back to being a novice again, as Mike said. Could have lived the comfortable life, hid away up in the hinterland of the Gold Coast, smoking the marijuana, even though it's a lot more powerful than it used to be. No, I certainly don't do that, but a few of my neighbours do, that's for sure. But I feel alive. I'm out of my comfort zone. I go to work in the morning. We have a laugh for 2 or 3 hours. Most of the time, people are laughing at me. I'm the butt of the jokes, but Jesus, we're going to work and we're having a laugh, and it's good fun, and it makes you feel alive, rightio. So that's the lesson. I know there's a lot of you young fellas are probably aspiring to get to the top level of your footy, but hopefully my message can relate to all walks of life, males and females, and that's my story about a little bit about leadership, but mainly about reinventing yourself. Thanks for listening.